Happy holidays. Hope you are having yourself a wonderful holiday season. I wanted to make a top 5 coal ships video to get this holiday season. I know a lot of you guys will be getting a lot of coal this year from Santa containers and other World of Warships goodies they'll be giving out this holiday season. So let's get started on that. I'll be going over the top 5 lists plus an extra one. I'll be going over the builds, the ship themselves, talking about them, going over them so you guys have a good guide on what ships to get this year. So let's get started. The first ship we're going over is going to be a tier 7. It's going to be the legendary Scharnhorst 43. Now, a lot of you may know of the original Scharnhorst, which a lot of people try to play as a brawler, but it just wasn't really doing a good job at that role. So over time, they're like, you know what? A lot of people like playing the Scharnhorst as a brawler, so let's just make a brawler version of it. So they made the Scharnhorst 43. So this thing is way more focused on the secondaries and the torpedoes, and the guns aren't as good, while the Scharnhorst is way more focused on the main guns and not as so much on the secondaries and the torpedoes. So for this ship, it comes with a engine boost, which lasts for 4 minutes, and you build into it with a 15% max speed, which is really good, with a heal and a fighter. For the module build, its main armaments, engine boost here to make the engine boost longer, secondaries to make them more accurate, and propulsion to make you speed up faster. You can get this ship in the armory for 75,000 coal, which is a pretty good price for what the ship is. Now, some of you guys may want to use the coupon that you can see here for the 25% off a coal ship. Don't use it on a ship that costs this amount of coal. Save it for the more really expensive coal ships that we'll be talking about later. So save those coal coupons or the steel coupons for the more really expensive ships, and just buy the cheaper coal or steel ships just for the cheaper amount, is my recommendation. All right, so this ship has 59,000 HP, really good HP. Guns, you get 9 of them. If you're gonna be using a lot of AP at the lower tiers, tier 7 and below. But if you do get into higher tiers like tier 8 and 9, you'll be using a lot of HE on the battleships, and then you'll be using AP on the cruisers. For the torpedoes, you get 6 of them in total, with a 45-second reload, which is really fast reload. The damage on them are okay with the 6-kilometer range, and with the 45-second reload, essentially it means you can launch one of them off of one side, and then you can use the other side, and as you're turning back to this main side again, they'll be reloaded, you can use them again. So this ship is really good for brawls, ranked. It does really well in there. Random is going to be a little bit tougher because you may get mismatched where you go to higher tiers, and that'll be a big pain. For the secondaries, you do get 9.5 kilometer range. The bigger secondary guns that are 150, they can pin up to 38 millimeters armor, which is really good for the tier 7 and below ships. Tier 8 and 9, it can still pin as well. The 105s are good for the tier 7 below, so 26 millimeter pen. But for those higher tiers, tier 8 and 9 is going to have a little bit more trouble in that one. Maneuverability, 31.5 knots with the 800 meter turning ratio is really nice. With the detectability at 13.7 kilometers, which isn't the best, but it is a tier 7, so I'm not really expected to be perfect. For the commander build itself, this is the build I'd be recommending. Gun feeder to switch it to between the AP and HE. Vigilance is the next one. After that, I would do the fire prevention first. Then I would do the manual. It really depends on what you want to do, right? So it's gun feeder, vigilance. Then you would do the long range secondaries. Then you can do the fire prevention, then the manual secondaries, then concealment, then adrenaline rush. It really depends on what you want to do. If you want to do secondaries first, you can do gun feeder, vigilance, both the secondaries first, then fire prevention. But essentially, you're gonna, and a lot of people be like, oh, you want to take IFHE. The reason why I don't take IFHE is because of the fact that since you are going to get up tier to tier 8 and tier 9, you'll want to save that higher fire chance for your main guns to be able to burn those higher tier ships, because you're not going to do a lot of damage to them with your AP shells. it's better for you to be able to use your HE and burn them because you'll do more damage over time than trying to use AP on them. And that's just my general advice. But this is the build that I use for the Scharnhorst 43. But overall, really fun ship. It has good armor. 26 millimeter top of the bow, 70 here. Deck is 50, which is really good. Aft is going to be 90, 26 millimeter. But yes, overall, amazing ship. The Scharnhorst 43 is a lot of fun to play. If you're looking for a brawler, I would definitely recommend the Scharnhorst 43 for sure. All right, so with that ship covered, let's move on to the next ship. The next ship is going to be a tier 9, and it's definitely not as tanky as the Scharnhorst, but it's way more stealthy, faster, and has way more torpedoes. Is going to be the Jager. So this is the tier 9 Jager for the European tree line. So not tree, but for the coal ships. So this is the ship here. As you can see, this thing has 12 torpedoes that are really fast. They have a fast reload, but they're not as hard hitting. But they do have a 12-kilometer range, 65-second reload. They do about 7,500 damage. But when you build into the torpedoes, they go 95 knots, by the way. It's one of the fastest torpedoes in the game. You can get the Jager in the armory for 210,000 coal. Let's take a look. Sorry, 215,000 coal. You are able to use the coupon on this, which I would recommend since it is a way higher price. So I would definitely recommend that for the coal price there. So this ship is going to be good in ranked. Not so much for brawls, but it's going to be okay. It's going to be really good in ranked, really good in randoms, and may potentially be in clan battles as well. Operations it could do okay in. Any other PvE mode is going to do really good as well. But this ship has 20,000 HP. Concealment is 5.4 kilometers. It's really, really stealthy. Maneuverability is 38.9 knots with a really nice turning radius and a nice heel. Also, this thing is extremely small, by the way, like super small. It is really hard to hit this thing. It's very low in the water. It's very hard for the enemy to hit you. So if you're dodging and weaving or just being really speedy, it's going to be really hard for the enemy to hit you. It comes with an engine boost and a heal, which is really nice. The engine boost lasts for about 2.5 minutes for 8%. And the heal, it does a really nice job as well. So you do build into both of these by getting a superintendent. Guns are going to be practically useless. You only get 3 of them. So you don't want to really be using them. You're going to be more focused on your torpedoes. That is your main, that is your bread. That is how you're going to make the dough, right? And overall, I'd say the Jager's a really good credit farmer. It's one of the best tier 9 credit farmers in the game, as well as a really good commander farmer for the Europeans. So I'd highly recommend it for that. So if you guys are looking for a credit farmer and you're a torpedo player, then I'll definitely recommend the Jager for that. So let's go over the build real quick. So for the build, it's going to be the main armament for the first slot. Second's going to be engine boost to make it last longer. Torpedoes in the third. Propulsion in the fifth. Concealment in the fifth. And then in the sixth slot is going to be torpedoes for faster reload. Also, if you do have Swirsky, if you don't, it's okay too. He does have it where if you hit 8 torpedoes, you do get a 5% bonus for your torpedo reload, and this stacks. So if you hit 16, it'll be 10%, and so on and so forth. So very, very, very useful. All right, so the build itself, let's go over the build. First slot's going to be preventative maintenance. Second is going to be last stand. This is essential for destroyers. I would do Superintendent first to get an extra. I would recommend doing. This is always a tough one for me. Either you do survivability expert first or Superintendent. I'd recommend Superintendent first since it does have heals. If it didn't have heals, I would do survivability expert first. But since it does have heals, I'll take Superintendent first. Then you do concealment. Then you would do for your 13-point build, you would then do survivability expert. For your 16-point, you would then do adrenaline rush. For your 19-point, then you would do fill the tubes. And then for your 21-point, then you would do swift in the fish. As you can see, this build is definitely geared towards survivability and for torpedoes. No gun build, just pure torpedoes. That's all this thing is good at. Torpedoes, 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 and that's what you want to build for. This ship does not have... Pretty much this thing's main weakness is aircraft carriers and also trying to do gunfights. So do not try to do either of those. If there's no aircraft carrier in the match, you'll do amazingly well. But if there is an aircraft carrier in the match, you'll try to hover the whole time because he's probably been tortured by another Jager and he wants to come after you to make you suffer. So that is going to be the Jager. Now, moving on from the Jager, let's go to the next ship. The next ship is going to be a tier 10. It's going to be one of the older coal ships in the game. It is going to be the legendary Moskva. This thing has been in the game for a very, very, very long time, and is still one of the top meta ships in this game, and for good reason. So let's go over this ship today. All right, so as you can see here, we're going in the armory. Let's take a look at coal. Let's see, where are you at? For coal, it costs 260,000 coal. And again, you are able to use that nice 25% off coupon if you do have it, which will help you save a lot of coal. For overall for the ship, it has a 25mm bow. Armor section is 50. Deck is 50, which will help you against those pesky Dutch bombers. You'll still get damaged here and set on fire. 155mm side with a 25mm aft section and the little armor section right here as well. It does have a raised citadel, so yeah, don't be showing your side in this thing or you'll be taking a lot of damage and being death struck. Overall, how the Marceau wants to be played is essentially bow win. You aren't going to be showing a lot of your side. If you do, you're going to be in a lot of pain. So this ship is really good at controlling points or controlling flanks. You sit bow win, you use your radar to help control, keep destroyers out or to kill them. It has 9 220mm guns that are laser pointer accurate, and they're some of the fastest shells of the game. So even at really long distances, this thing is very accurate at hitting destroyers. You're going to be using a lot of HE on this ship. AP if they're broadside, but HE to burn, to make them burn, to start fires, to do consistent damage. You'll just make the enemy suffer with this thing. The guns are absolutely amazing. Some of the best guns in the game. Just incredible. I love playing this thing on the 1 line or the 10 line, where essentially I can lock down a flank and just sit really far back. But I only do that if there's no submarine in the match. If there is a submarine in the match or there's one on my flank, then I don't do that. I'll sit near an island or just be in a position where I know the submarine can't get to me, because submarines love to mess with Moskvas. Anti-air is really good on this ship, but again, a CV can still hit you, but the anti-air is still really good. Survivability is 73,400, is a lot of HP for a tier 10 cruiser. You do get the maneuverability is nice for the speed, but again, this thing is really, really long, so the turn race is going to be really bad. And for concealment, you have battleship concealment. So essentially, when you're planning your positioning, you need to make sure to be like wide on the flank, to where you're not going to get spotted early. Because if you are spotted early, even from like 18, 20 kilometers, they can still dev strike you. Battleships still can. So you have to be always careful and always watching out for someone trying to dev strike you. Always have to. If you don't, then you're going to suffer. For the Moskva, it does come with a choice of a DFA or Hydro. Of course, I'd pick Hydro. And it does come with a 12 kilometer 40-second radar, and this radar is really deadly to destroyers. If you catch a destroyer with this radar, you're able to do a lot of damage to it, and you get a lot of them. So destroyers are not going to want to be inside that radar, or they'll be in a lot of pain. You do come with a nice heal as well, which is really nice. But overall, since it is a tier 10, you do get the tier 10 premium. You are able to get the post-service cost reduction. You can transfer your commander to this for free, and you do get all the nice premium bonuses besides the enhanced credit earnings that the tier 9s and below get. So I definitely recommend this ship. Good crew trainer, good commander, like I said, good crew trainer, and it's just a really fun ship to play at tier 10. Good for ranked, good for randoms, great for clan battles. For brawls, not so much. Operations, it can do okay. Asymmetrics, it can do good. Co-oping can do good as well. But let's go over the build. Build's going to be main armament in the first slot. Second slot's going to be surveillance radar. Third's going to be aiming systems. Fourth is going to be propulsion. Fifth is going to be concealment. And sixth is going to be the extended radar. Now, this is the legendary mod that you can only get in the... Sorry, it's a unique upgrade you can only get in the Armory and the Research Bureau section. And I have a video covering the Research Bureau and unique upgrades, so you can watch that. But this makes it where you get increased gun range, a more accurate dispersion for your shells, but it makes your turret traverse slower. Because the turret traverse on this thing is very, very slow. So you have to watch out for that. For the commander build, I use Kuznetsov on him, but you don't have to use that commander, of course. First one's going to be consumable specialist to get my radar and hydro faster. Then the consumable enhancement to make it last longer. Then I would do superintendent to get an extra heal, radar, and hydro. Then I would do concealment for your 10 point. For your 14 point, I would then take top grade, which makes it where someone inside your concealment and makes you have a faster reload. Very useful. Then after that one, I would do adrenaline rush personally for me because I would like to get higher DPM. Then I would do survivability expert. And then the last one would be turret diverse. And that would be my build for the Moskva. But again, highly recommend the Moskva. A lot of fun to play. And it's a very strong competitive ship as well as just really good in general. All right, so the next coaster we're going to go over is going to be a pair of them. So I'm just going to count them as like the same ship. It's going to be the Azuma and the Yoshino because they're basically, to me, they're basically played the same. Their play style is almost identical. The main difference is that the Yoshino has 20-kilometer torpedoes. I don't know why it has a 12s, but yeah, they have 20-kilometer torpedoes while the Azuma does not. But their play styles are basically identical. So for this particular part of the video, just assume I'm talking about both because their play styles are exactly the same. But their prices are going to be different in the armory. So let's just take a look at that real quick. So in the armory, you're able to get the Azuma and the Yoshino. You can let's do it. Where are you at? You're able to get the Azuma for 180,000 coal, and then you're able to get the Yoshino for 260,000 coal here. So depending upon what you want out of the ship is which one you're going to be picking. If you want more of a credit farmer rather than just a crew trainer, then I recommend the Azuma, because as you see here, the Azuma gets the enhanced credit earnings right here with more credits, while the Yoshino does not. And that's because tier 10s do not get enhanced credit earnings, while tier 9s and below premiums do. So if you're ever looking for a credit farmer, do a tier 9 or tier 8. But if you're looking for more of just like a pure crew trainer, then it'd be more of a tier 10, because the higher tier you play, the more base XP you earn, and the more base XP you can earn, the more it goes toward a commander XP. So just my explanation of that. So how the Azuma and Yoshino are both played is very long range HE spammers. You are sitting really far back, spamming HE with those massive 310 millimeter guns. And they pack a punch. They have a long reload, but the HE, really high fire chance, a lot of pen, and the AP also slaps as well. So if someone shows you broadside, you can switch over to AP and just slap the living crap out of them with it, and it will hurt. As well as the armor here, the armor is going to be the same. So it's going to be 25 millimeter bow, 30 millimeter here, 25 millimeter aft. And as you can see why the ship is played so far back. Its armor is not the best. 125 side, 144. Yeah, very easily sittable. Yeah, as you can see, there's a reason why you sit so far back. You are just a giant farmable, just damaged pinata. And if you don't sit really far back, you'll be suffering. So you'll be kiting with this thing a lot. For torpedoes, you get 16 torpedoes on the Yoshino. With the Azuma, of course, it does not have torpedoes. It just has guns. But they are 20-kilometer range, and they're about almost a 2.5-minute reload, so it's pretty long. Anti-air is okay. It's okay, not the best, not the worst. Maneuverability is 35.7 knots, 120-meter turning radius. Concealment is 11.9, which will go with both. They basically have the exact same stats. Both ships have hydro. You have a choice between hydro and DFAA, spotter, plane, and fighter, and of course you do get heals. Same thing with the Azuma, as you can see here. But overall, the ship is a really good ship to play in randoms. Same with the Azuma. For ranked, not as much. It's not going to do as well there. You can, like, for operations, it's not going to do as well either, because it goes off of DPM, right? Higher DPM ships are going to do way better in operations. While these ships don't have that high of a DPM, I'm not going to recommend it as much for operations. For asymmetricals, it can do good in there and co-op, but for operations, for ranked, in combat, it's just not going to do very well. But for randoms, they'll do perfectly well there. So let's go over the build for both of the ships, because they're gonna have essentially the identical build. Main armament, damage control for reduced fire chance, aiming systems for micro guns, propulsion, the concealment, and the reload. Of course, I recommend the hydro and the spotter plane. For the build here, I would first recommend the gun feeder to be able to switch between the HE and the AP faster, since you will be doing a lot of that in these matches. The consumable enhancement to have a longer hydro. After that, I would then do superintendent to get an extra heal. Then I would do concealment to reduce your concealment to 11.9, which is an amazing concealment. Then I would do top grade, so if anyone is within your concealment, you get an extra reload buff. So after that, I would then do Adrenalinist for me personally to get a higher DPM if I am hurt or getting hit. And then after that, I would do Survivability Expert. And then I would do Grease the Gears for the final pick. But if you want to have extra health first, you could do this one first and then do Adrenaline Rush, then do Grease the Gears. But for your basic 10-point build, it's going to be Gun Feeder first, then Consumable, Superintendent, and then Concealment. Then for 14 points, it's going to be Top Grade. And then the rest are, history. But that's my recommendation for the Yoshino and the Azuma builds. Again, both of the ships are good. If the Yoshino is definitely a better crew trainer because of the higher base XP, but the Azuma is definitely a better credit grinder. So that's my recommendations for those two. All right, so moving on from that pair, we're moving to a more speedy boat. Or a more speedy. So if you like more of a gunboat, then we got ourselves the legendary Marceau, right? And you guys have probably seen me play this thing a lot, the legendary Marceau. A lot of fun to play. I do have the steel cam on it, so it does look pretty nice. It does look pretty good. I do like it. And yes, the guns are Colbert guns. So I'll be talking about that in a moment. All right, so let's take a look at how much this thing costs real quick. All right, so let's go in the armory. Let's go to Destroyer, Tier 10, French. It's going to be 260,000 coal. And yes, you can use the coupon on this thing for 25% off, which is pretty nice. But now, this thing is meant to be a destroyer and submarine hunting machine. As the Kleber is more of a long-range HE spammer with its longer range and faster shells, this thing it's essentially a shotgun version of the Kleber. It's just as fast, but the shell speed is way slower. So its main optimum range is going to be way shorter than the Kleber is. So your job is to more hunt destroyers and submarines. And the whole ship build is completely on that. Your HP is 27,200 HP. You do get eight guns with a 3.1 second reload, which is really fast, and with a gun range of 13.8 kilometers. Torpedoes, you do get 12 of them, but is a 2-minute reload. So unlike the Kleber, this thing has a really long reload for the torpedoes, but they are 9 kilometers instead of the Kleber's 8. So you can essentially use them a little bit better at the Kleber for longer distance, just slightly, but it's not your main damage. Your main damage is going to be the guns. Depth charges, they're okay. Anti-air is pretty good on this ship. It does come with DFA, which is really nice. Speed on this ship base is with the flag is 46.2 knots, which is really fast. A nice turning radius and a nice rudder. And the concealment is 7 kilometers. Now this ship, a lot of fun to play. Good crew trainer. A lot of fun to play in ranked, randoms. Brawl's not so much since the Kleber has better torpedo reload. But overall, asymmetricals can do fine there as well. But overall, it's a lot of fun to play. If you like to play more of a destroyer hunter or submarine hunter, or just doing slight farming behind, you can do shooting over islands with the shell arcs, or just do longer distance farming. It's just going to be harder to aim because of the slow shell speed. But if you're high enough skill, you can definitely do that as well. But the build here I'll be showing. So it does come with DFA again, and it does come with the engine boost, which lasts 4 minutes. A tip for the engine boost, normally I like to wait to use my engine boost until about 1.5 minutes in the match. And the reason why is because a lot of people will use their engine boost right away at the start. If you wait a little bit to use it, you're able to get an advantage on the people that have already used their engine boost, which means you're going to be able to run them down way faster. Which, yeah, you'll be able to run them down faster, catch them, and kill them. Because a 7-kilometer concealment is bad compared to something like a Shima or a Jager that has like a 5.4 to 5.5 kilometer concealment. But if you catch them when they're bow into you, so like say like you're running it on a flank, right? And you get spotted. You just keep Wing in the direction you have because you're going to have the radio location. So you can just run at whatever is spotting you, and you'll be able to catch them before they have time to turn out. You're going to essentially kill them. There's no way they're going to get out of there alive, and you're going to kill them by the time they are able to turn out or anything. Now, the special thing about the French destroyers as well, they do have a thing called French saturation. It's on all the French destroyers. How it works is that in World of Warships, as you can see here, there are different sections of the ship. You have the superstructure, you have the citadel, and you have the bow and aft sections, right? Each of these sections hold a certain amount of HP of the total ship's HP, and then the whole ship has the total HP. So, and that's where, as you can, sometimes in the game, you see like black sections forming on ships. So, whenever that starts forming and then it becomes purely dark, that means that all the HP in that section is gone. So instead of damaging both the module and the total ship HP, you're only damaging one, which means you'll be doing less damage. Now, for the French destroyers, it has less HP in each of those. It has less HP in each of those sections, which means that you're going to be doing less damage to this thing faster than it would other ships. So it gives them an advantage in the battle since you do not have a heal. And this is really good for how fast these things are. It makes it where you just take less damage over time. So it makes people think, oh, it's about to die, when you're not, and you're able to kill them instead. So for the build itself, for the Marceau, it's main armament in the first slot, engine boost in the second, aiming in the third, propulsion in the fourth, consume in the fifth, and reload in the sixth. Pure gun build. Pure. You can use whatever commander you want. I use Felipe. If you get 2 million potential damage, you get 8% engine boost. And if you get a capture point, it gives you an extra fire chance and flooding chance, which is really good as well. But let's take a look at the build right here that I have. All right, so preventive maintenance is the first slot. We all know why you take it. It helps you not lose your systems. Last stand, that's a must for destroyers. Survivability expert, must have for a ship with no heal. Then you do concealment. That is going to be your 10-point build. Next is going to be your 14-point build with radio location. This is a must-have for this ship to be able to hunt down destroyers and subs. Get this next, 1,000%. This is a must-have. You need this. This allows you to hunt down destroyers really easily, knowing where they're at, trying to predict a way to hunt them down, or trying to figure out what they're going to be doing. Very useful. As well as main battery AFT. I took this because this is around the same build I take for my Kleber, so I kind of swapped this in between the two. So I use this commander also on my Kleber. If you don't want to have this, you don't. But just think of it this way. 13.8 is a pretty nice number for range when you think about all the damn secondary ships that are running around. If you don't have AFT, which is what this used to be called, your range is going to be within the secondary battleships or secondary ships, and you'll just be hit with the secondaries all the time, and it's really painful. But having the extra gun range really helps you just take less damage from those secondary ships. So I definitely recommend AFT for that reason, or the extra range. And finally, your last skill is going to be Adrenaline Rush, so that as you're taking damage, you have a higher DPM, or higher reload, or better reload. But overall, Marceau's a lot of fun to play. One of my favorite destroyers to play in the game. It's due to how versatile the ship is, how it can rotate from flank to flank, it can rotate from cap to cap. It's really good and really nice to be able to carry matches with it, because you can go from helping out at A and you can just jump over to B, using your speed to jump around from place to place to place. And overall, I just love playing it. It's one of my favorite destroyers in the game, so it had to be on this list. All right, moving on. All right, we have our final coal ship recommendation, and we all know it's coming. It's gonna be the Napoli. Good old Napoli, one of the tankiest cruisers in the game, called the Italian Petro, for good reason. And we're going to be explaining that and the build and everything in a moment. Let's take a look at the costs. So this ship in the armory, let's go in here real quick. Let's go to tier 10, go to coal, Italian. It costs 260,000 coal, which you can then use the 25% off on, which I definitely recommend for sure. So this thing is a secondary brawling machine for the Italians. Very tanky. Survivability is 62,000 HP with an armor of 25 at the top, 60 at the lower. Deck is 40 as well, which helps against those pesky Dutch bombers. Side plating is 220. Rear section here has a little protection there of 60. Take a look at the ship. Beautiful Italian as always. Very nice secondaries. Very nice, very nice. So how this ship wants to be played is that it has an exhaust smoke, right? It uses a very interesting gimmick of having an exhaust smoke with a fighter, to be able, like, where you're using the exhaust smoke, where you can also shoot your main guns out of it. But you have to be careful, though, that if you do fire your guns with it, make sure anyone that is an enemy side is outside of 8.8 kilometers, because if they are within sight of that, then you're going to get spotted. So make sure that anyone that's nearby you is outside of that, so you can stay dark while shooting your main guns. But your main focus is to get within 11 kilometers to use those secondaries, because you do have amazing sap secondaries on this thing that can shred destroyers, battleships, and cruisers alike. It just does tons of damage. Tons and tons and tons and tons of damage. It's going to absolutely wallop them. And what you do is that you use your exhaust smoke to be able to push in, to be able to do farm with the secondaries, and then use your fighter to spot. Now, there is a fighter change that's coming up in January, and they have said before, I don't know if they're going to change it or not, but they said that all the ships that have, like, the Napoli's gimmick of using a fighter for spotting in the exhaust smoke, the fighter is going to get changed to a spotter plane, so that it can still keep that gimmick, because the fighter is losing its ability to spot in the upcoming patch in January, which is a very big change, and it's really good. They have a dev talking about that as well, but there's a lot of big changes coming to fighters to make them a more defensive tool, which has been much needed. It makes them stronger against the Dutch airstrikes. It makes it stronger against just defending ships, against ASW or against Dutch airstrikes. And it takes away its ability to spot. So hopefully that helps people use the fighters more for a defensive tool, as well as the fact it makes it where taking a fighter on your ship is going to be a good thing, which hasn't been said ever. Everyone's always like, don't take fighter on your ship. Don't take fighter on your ship. And now it's actually really good. So I'm really excited for that. This ship comes with good guns, 9 254mm guns. The DP on the guns aren't really that good. Like, they are fast velocity, so they're going to be accurate. The AP is good to slap sides, or like broadsides or sides on cruisers and battleships. The HE is okay. They do all right. The reload is a little bit long, but overall, your main DPM is going to be from fires from the HE, broadsides with the AP, and from that pure secondaries. Now, you do have torpedoes as well that have a 13.5 kilometer range. So as you're using your exhaust smoke, as you're turning out, you're able to use one side of the torpedoes, like over here, and then you're able to use the other side over here, which is really nice. So you can just keep launching your torpedoes as you're kiting away, or as you're turning in or moving around. You can use your torpedoes over and over again. Anti-air, not the best. Don't worry about that. Airstrikes are 8 kilometers, is pretty normal. Torpedo damage is about 16,000. 13.5 kilometer range again. Maneuverability, 37.3 knots, which is really fast for a tier 10 cruiser. 750 meter turning range, which is nice as well, with a 10.3 kilometer concealment. So you have 11 kilometer secondaries with a 10.3 kilometer range, concealment range. So if you want to be more stealthy, you can turn off your secondaries until your concealment, or you can just have it where you have your secondaries on if you want to be spotted the moment that they fire, and you can do that, but it comes down to you. The Napoli is fun to play in every game mode. Randoms, ranked, brawls, you name it, asymmetricals, operations. Napoli is just fun to play anywhere you want to play it. Just fun everywhere. Fun everywhere. Just tons of fun. Tons of fun. All right, so let's go over the build. I do main arm in the first slot, DCP in the second, secondaries in the third, propulsion in the fourth, concealment in the fifth, and then the sixth slot is going to be secondaries. You can do reload instead if you want that. It's up to you. For the build itself, it's going to be a pretty big one. There's going to be pseudo specialists in the first slot to get your smoke and fighter back faster. Then this one makes your smoke longer, which is really important. After that, I would then do the secondary one first. This skill right here to get your secondary range longer, because if you don't, your main gimmick of secondaries aren't going to be able to go out to 11 kilometers like you need. So I would take this one first. Then I would do concealment to get your concealment down to 10.3. So this is going to be your 10-point build. Then top grade gunner to where if anyone inside your secondary range is spotted, your concealment range, anyone inside your concealment range will increase your reload for your main guns and your secondaries, which is really good since you'll be inside there a lot when you're playing the secondary build. So I definitely recommend top grade gunner. So let's boost both your main guns and your secondaries. After that, I would then take superintendent to get an extra heal, fighter, and then the smoke. And then finally, I would take adrenaline rush. And that's going to be the build that I recommend for the Napoli. Now, I know technically I went over more than 5 coal ships. I had like an extra put in there for the Scharnhorst 43, but I think all of these ships are really good additions to your ports this year in World of Warships. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure to also come over to my Twitch as well. I do stream over there daily, and also there is a special drop going on for a really cool destruction effect for the salt effect that's out. You just have to give 2 get to subs on there, and you're able to get that. So I would greatly appreciate that support, as well as you get a really cool destruction effect for your game. But thank you all for watching today's video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Deuces.